These women never prepared themselves for royal life and moved to royal palaces only as lovers of princes, dukes, or kings. And yet, even this excuse could not protect them from revealing the secrets of their past, which they would like to forget forever. Born to the most ordinary people, these girls and women could not even imagine that one day their entire biography would be studied under a magnifying glass by reporters and moral guardians. But alas, living in a palace next to your beloved prince requires sacrifice and titanic fortitude in the face of the logic of subjects who have recently been ready to forgive future princesses and queens for their lowly origins, but are not ready to put up with the dark spots of their past. We talk about the most famous royal brides of our time who never managed to hide all their skeletons away in the closet. On the eve of the royal wedding of Prince Harry and his beloved Meghan Markle, something happened in the United Kingdom that, in fact, should have happened a long time ago. In the best traditions, just before the celebration, the tabloids flooded with personal photos of the prince's bride, depicted in a form not the most pious for her future status. Clever and beloved by the whole of Great Britain, the future Duchess of Sussex became a victim of hackers from the famous Celeb Jihad group, who found photos of the girl posing topless. Most likely, these photos were taken before Meghan's fateful meeting with the red-haired prince. In the pictures, the still-free actress from the series Force Majeure was just relaxing with her friends, sunbathing, and trying to take an atmospheric photo from the back. Actually, the front of the girl got into the lens only because it was she who had the burden to set the timer on the camera. However, few people were interested in this fact anymore. Royal nipples were scattered all over the world's online publications. In this situation, the reaction of Kensington Palace was obvious and predictable. No one in the royal family believed in the authenticity of the photographs of the prince's bride, despite the presence of the video. But let's pay tribute to the British tabloids. Scandalous photos of Miss Markle could be found on almost any resource around the world, except local ones. Probably, the media representatives did not want to quarrel with Her Majesty before May 19, 2018, and many understood that the past of Prince Harry's bride before the engagement had already been dismissed by many. Here, however, there really was something to overlook. The Hollywood actress is far from the first echelon, who became famous for her role as Rachel Zane in the series Force Majeure, at first earned her living with very dubious projects. One is the role of a maid in lace lingerie, CSI, Crime Scene, New York. The other is the role of a young girl flirting with a very young protagonist. But perhaps the biggest stain in Meghan's acting career is her participation in the show Deal or No Deal, as a model in an ultra-short dress with a revealing neckline. Later, Meghan admitted that she needed this job to understand that she no longer wants to do anything like this. And yet you can't delete photos of the Duchess with bare legs and an inviting smile. However, Meghan's acting career is still half the trouble. Until Prince Harry personally brought Meghan to reporters with a ring on her finger, many actively recalled her and her marriage to a film producer, and a Jew. By Trevor Engelson and her background and race and inconvenient relatives. After the announcement of the engagement, detractors also leaked long-standing photos on the network, in which the prince's bride is depicted with a cigarette. By the way, for smoking, Kate Middleton once got crystal clear, in which the paparazzi could see a pack in her purse. And yet, neither these episodes from the past, nor topless photos, have prevented Meghan Markle from acquiring an army of fans. Apparently, The sincerity of the feelings between her and Harry, as well as the girl's kind heart, did their job. The ratings of the Spanish queen are not always stable. The hot, tempered nature of Felipe's lover, as well as her own view of fashion and style, regularly provide her with a variety of media headlines, from praising to openly humiliating. However, the past of their queen remains a much more interesting topic for the Spaniards. The details of Her Majesty's biography are a very valuable lot, and local reporters and those who are simply not indifferent are ready to pay any money for it. What Letizia Ortiz's past acquaintances actively use. So, in the spring of 2018, her ex-husband, Alonso Guerrero Perez, decided to earn extra money from the past of the local queen, who presented his new book to the Spaniards, based on an unprecedented real case. In other words, based on his love story with his wife, Felipe VI. However, the book by Her Majesty's ex-husband is far from the first, and, I think, not the last, of her scandalous biography. In 2013, for example, her cousin David Rocco Solano decided to speak with his version of Letizia's biography. In it, he told what was known before him, but still he added some drama to the facts, to make it read better. It's important to understand that, like Meghan, Letizia was a media personality in the past. Actually, on the scale of Spain and Latin America, her figure may have been even more famous, because Ms. Ortiz broadcast here from almost every second television screen. A famous journalist and TV presenter, before meeting the Prince of Asturias, she dated many men, and in 1999, she even managed to get married. Letizia met her first love at 16. Alonso Guerrero Perez taught her literature at school, and before taking his former student as his wife, he spent about 10 years in a relationship with her. The marriage, however, broke up just a year later, and, according to representatives of the king, the couple never got married, although skeptics had doubts about this. Letizia's marriage to Spanish Catholics at one time was the very red rag that the royal family had been trying to get rid of for many years. But the skeletons in the closet of the new princess, and then the queen, did not end there either. Several sources, including her cousin, stated that Doña Letizia had an illegal abortion in the early 2000s. Moreover, the whole of Spain was also able to see their queen topless. However, these were not photographs like those of other royal brides, but a painting by a famous local artist and a longtime friend of Letizia, Waldo Saavedra. As it turned out later, the woman was close friends with him in the 90s. Saavedra had feelings for Letizia for a long time, but he never confessed to her. But he painted several portraits of her, using only her photographs and imagination. One of them, Mach, is still listed among the best works of the artist. Sofia Helqvist, the wife of Crown Princess Victoria's brother Carl Philip, perhaps has the most dubious reputation of all the royal brides of our time, because Swedish citizens were able to look at her body not as a result of a leak on the web or works of art, but simply because Sofia herself showed it in every possible way on the pages of men's magazines and on television. Prince Carl Philip, who in his youth loved to get involved in sex scandals himself, found a girl to match in 2010. A well-known model for men's magazines, in 2004, Sofia Helqvist was even recognized as the best girl by Slits for her topless photo shoot, where a tropical boa constrictor played the role of a bikini top. However, this was only the beginning of the girl's career. The following year, she auditioned for the world-famous reality show Paradise Hotel. In Russia, it was released under the name Vacation in Mexico, and reached the finals by kissing the famous porn actress Jenna Jameson. However, it was the culmination of Sofia's dubious career path. After the show, she moved to New York, enrolled in business school, studied children's rights and protection in international organizations, and founded her own yoga school. Sofia waited 4 years for her ring from Prince Carl Philip. Many then assumed that it was necessary in order to have time to clean up the girl's entire track record before the news was announced. Their engagement portraits with the prince surprisingly resembled photographs of Prince William and Kate Middleton. Probably, the PR service of the royal palace really wanted to play on the external similarity of the Duchess of Britain and the future Duchess of Sweden, in order to distract attention from Sofia's past adventures in the world of modeling and reality. And it turned out, today, Sofia is giving birth to the Swedish royal house of heirs and is actively engaged in charity, and, I must say, in such an elegant woman and a staid mother of 2 children, you hardly recognize the half-naked beauty who posed from the pages of men's magazines in the early 2000s. Mette-Marit, Crown Princess of Norway. Today, Mette-Marit is the same favorite of Norwegians as her cheerful husband, but in 2000, when Håkon put a ring on the finger of a simple waitress whom he had known for only a year, many subjects were not amused. The wife of the Norwegian heir has not been accused of anything like that for a long time, because her track record was known to everyone from the very beginning. Journalists began to look for compromising material on Håkon's chosen one as soon as they learned that Mette-Marit had an illegitimate son. Who is the father? Why didn't they get married? Where is he now? There were more questions than answers, so the reporters actively set to work. However, it didn't take long to search. The father's identity was immediately established, followed by a whole load of aggravating circumstances. He had previously been arrested for cocaine possession, which meant that they, along with Mette-Marit, moved in the appropriate circles. Photo confirmations were also found quickly, because earlier the girl had actually appeared at parties where light drugs could be obtained as easily as booze. However, Håkon's love for just a waitress overcame everything, and, threatening his parents if they refused to remain a bachelor forever, he not only led Mette-Marit down the aisle, but also took her son into the family. Marius is now 24 years old and no longer a member of the royal family, while his mother is raising the next generation of Norwegian heirs, doing charity work and traveling abroad to maintain the image of the monarchy.